No way they do this. As trade rumors are continuing to circulate around the NHL, one insider has revealed a new trade target on the market, and the New York Rangers are linked. We're going to break it all down in this episode of Rangers Digest, but before we do that, a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. About 68% of you who watch these videos are not actually subscribed to the channel. So if you want to stay up to date with everything that's happening with the New York Rangers, from trade rumors to trade reports to the playoff push that's coming up in the second half of this season, it's free. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. Now, a very interesting report dropped again from Elliotte Friedman. I mean, he is just dropping Friedman bombs all week this week. And this new report is going to have Rangers fans fired up. And that is that the Rangers could be looking at a familiar face. And a lot of teams looking at this player around the league. And it makes no sense to me. And we're going to break down exactly why. And this, from the Hockey Writers, kind of started it and is continuing to roll. The Red Wings are looking for a fit to trade Vladimir Tarasenko. They do not want to hang on to this player's services any longer, and it's, I mean, no surprise why. We'll get into his contract in a second, but this is from Hunter Bowman. Reunion incoming, former New York Rangers forward reportedly being shopped, and this is from Elliotte Friedman again. This is based off the report from Elliotte Friedman, and according to Elliotte Friedman, the Detroit Red Wings are looking to trade Vladimir Tarasenko at the NHL trade deadline or after this season is done. They do not want to retain his services any longer, like I said, and Friedman stated that the Red Wings are willing to move him as they think a change of scenery would be best for the Russian goal scorer forward and the Red Wings organization. This season, we'll get into his stats and some of the advanced analytics in a second, but this season Tarasenko has managed to tally 7 goals and 15 assists for a total of 22 points in 53 games with the Red Wings. So his production, not great this season. He's only scored 7 goals. He's been looked upon to be a goal scorer with that team. They did not start the season well at all, and they have kind of turned it around to a degree. It looks like they're very much in the playoff push with the Rangers as well. Everyone in the East. If your name is not the New York Islanders or the Buffalo Sabres, you're in the playoff race this year. But again, he has not been playing well, and if you take a look at his stats this season, we'll get into the lineup in a second, but if you take a look at his stats this season, again, 22 points in 53 games, but he's a -8. He's not playing that much time. He just turned 33. He's not the biggest player. I mean, we know what he's about, but at this point in his career, he's 33. He's getting older. He's not producing with the Red Wings, who do have some very high-octane offensive talent, right, on that team. Lucas Raymond, right, like a couple guys having big years this year, and he has not been playing great. And I mean, I think one reason that they wouldn't mind moving off him, there's other teams like the Toronto Maple Leafs who reportedly have interest as well, which makes no sense for them. And again, I should say, before we go any further in this video, this makes no sense for the New York Rangers. This makes absolutely zero sense. There is a world where it happens. I could see it happening for a different reason than on ice play, but in terms of on ice play, I should say that this makes less than 0% sense for the New York Rangers. This makes less than 0%. But anyway, the only reason I could see this happening is if you could get one of these players out of the system, out of Detroit's system, in return for taking on Vladimir Tarasenko's contract. Because if you take a look at the Rangers salary cap space right now, with a couple players on LTIR and the IR, they have $11.3 million. It's more, looking like $3.6 million. That's the actual projected cap space. But at the deadline, they have $16.4 million to work with, which, again, if you want to take on Tarasenko's contract, which is abysmal, he has 1 year left, and for his production and his age, that is a crazy contract that he signed in Detroit. $4.75 million. I know that, Stanley Cup and all of that in Florida, but oh my goodness, that is a horrible contract. But the Rangers, like I just mentioned, can absolutely take this on at the deadline if they wanted to. And again, why would you want to? Maybe you want to get one of these players, these younger players, out of Detroit's system in return for taking that salary cap off their books, so then they can go out and make a trade at the deadline and try and compete and make the playoffs this year, because that is their goal. They want to make the playoffs. They haven't made the playoffs since 2015, I think, at this point. So, it's coming up on almost 10 years. They want to make the playoffs. They're very close. They're in the mix. They want to make a playoff push, and I could see them wanting to move off that salary cap to be able to, make a significant move at the trade deadline, because they've really, handcuff themselves with that contract. The Rangers have the salary cap space to make it work. They have $16.4 million. Now, looking at Tarasenko's contract, we'll get into how he fits in the team in a second. If they were to make this trade, it doesn't really make any sense. Again, I'm going to make that clear from my point of view. But if they took on his cap hit, you have him from next year as well. And if you look at the projected cap space for the New York Rangers next year, you have quite a bit still. This does account for, Shesterkin's contract extension. This does not account for some of the contracts that you still have to sign, like Keandre Miller. Is he going to stay? Are they going to trade him, right? What's that contract look like if he does stay? Because he wants a significant raise. He has not earned it, I don't think, with his play this year. It wouldn't make any sense for the Rangers to do that. This does also include Alexis Lafreniere's contract extension. So they do have quite a bit of cap room still, but you want to be strategic with that cap room and taking on Tarasenko, unless, again, a change of scenery does help. He is able to play better in New York, and you do get a prospect in return for that salary cap dump. I could see that being something that they do this year, and then maybe flipping him again in the offseason, getting creative with it. Chris Drury has been doing some crazy stuff over the last 12 months, so I could see that being the case in that way. But if you take a look at the team itself, I mean, where do you put Tarasenko? I'm not sure. He doesn't belong on a fourth line. Wouldn't make much sense for this team to have him on the fourth line. I don't think he plays over Chris Kreider. I don't think he plays over Kaliev right now for what he brings to the lineup, the size and all that, and what we saw against Columbus just a couple games ago. At this point, it seems like weeks ago, but what he brings to the table, I'd rather have him in the lineup than Tarasenko, the way Tarasenko is playing this year. So again, that's just my personal opinion. Let me know in the comments if you think differently in that way. And obviously these lines are weird. This is how we last saw the Rangers with VC on the top line. That's not going to stick, but and Smith on the fourth line. But again, I'm not sure I would even have him in this lineup. So I could see it as a salary cap dump because I don't think the Rangers are done. I wonder if they take on some salary in return for some prospects, let some young guys come up from Hartford and kind of take on certain roles heading into the playoffs. I could see Othman getting some time as well, and I'd rather Othman play over a guy like Tarasenko making almost $5 million anyway. That wouldn't make sense for where the Rangers are this year and everything that's happened since Jacob Trouba got traded. So Lindgren, is he going to stay? There is a possibility that they trade him as well. I say possibility. They should definitely trade Ryan Lindgren. I'm just saying, because I don't see you re-signing this player, and you should recoup some assets from him. Again, love the player and everything he's brought to the table, the team over the last couple of years, but I don't see you're not going to re-sign him. Get some assets for him. And then Keandre Miller too, that's a big question mark as well. Are you going to re-sign him? What's the contract? What's the cap hit look like? So some very interesting stuff happening with the Rangers to end off the season heading into the trade deadline. But let me know if you would like Vladimir Tarasenko back on the team. I would say at this point in his career, no, I don't think it makes any sense for the New York Rangers, especially taking on that cap hit with a lot of variables heading into next season. Not too many, not as many as you had to start the year. You have, some things locked down with Lafreniere and Shesterkin, but I don't think that move makes any sense for the New York Rangers. But again, let me know what you think in the comments about potentially acquiring Vladimir Tarasenko. Again, the contract situation, the cap hit, all of that stuff. And if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with everything New York Rangers.